guys, today we're going to be doing Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone Part 2 by J.K. Rowling. And if you want to see Part 3, remember to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. Now let's get to it. Oh yeah, we're on page 10. You can follow along if you have Harry Potter books too. You'd be stiff if you've been sitting on that brick wall all day, said Professor McGonagall. All day? When you could be celebrating? I must have passed a dozen feasts on my parties on my way here. Professor McGonagall sniffed angrily. Oh yes, everyone's celebrating all right, she said impatiently. You'd think that they'd be a little bit more careful. Even the muggles seemed to notice something going on. It was their news. She jerked her head to the Dudley's dark living room window. I heard it, flocks of owls, shooting stars. Well, they're not completely stupid. They were bound to know to something. Shooting stars down in Kent. I bet that was Douglas Diggle. He never had much sense. You can't blame him, said Dumbledore gently. We'd have a precious to know little to celebrate for 11 years. I know that, said Professor McGonagall interminably. But that's no reason to lose our heads. People are being downright careless. No reason. Not even dressed in muggle clothes. Swapping rumors, she threw a sharp sidewalk glance at Dumbledore here, as hoping to tell her something, but he didn't. So she went on. A fine thing would be if on the day you who seems to have disappeared at last, the muggles found all about us. I suppose he has gone, Dumbledore. It certainly seems so, said Dumbledore. We have much to be thankful for. Would you care for a lemon drop? A what? A lemon drop. They're the kind of muggle sweet I'm rather fond of. No, thank you, said Professor McGonagall coldly, as though she didn't think this was the moment for lemon drops. As I said, even if you know who has gone, my dear professor, certainly a sensible person like yourself can call him by the name. All this you-know-who nonsense. For 11 years, I've been trying to persuade people to call him by his proper name, Voldemort. Mr. McGonagall flinched, but Dumbledore, who was unsticking 2 lemon drops, seems not to notice. It all getting so confusing if we keep saying you-know-who. I've never seen any reason to be afraid of saying Voldemort's name. I know you haven't, said Mr. McGonagall, sounding half expressed, half admiring. But you're different. Everyone knows you're the only one you know. Oh, all right. Voldemort was frightened of. You flatter me, said Dumbledore calmly. Voldemort had powers I will never have, only because you're too, noble to use them. It's luckily it's dark. I haven't blushed much since Madame Pomfrey. Professor McGonagall sharp look at Dumbledore and said, the owls are nothing next to the rumors that are flying around. Everyone's saying about why he's disappeared. the owls are nothing about what finally stopped him. It seems that Professor McGonagall has reached the point she has anxiously to discuss. The real reason she's been waiting. She fixed Dumbledore with such a fearing stare, and she fixed Dumbledore with such a peering stare, and she did now. It was plain, and whatever everyone was saying, she did not know what it was. To believe it until Dumbledore told her it was true. Dumbledore, however, was choosing another lemon drop and did not know the answer. What they're saying, she pressed on, is that last night Voldemort turned up on Godric's Hollow and wanted to find the Potters. The rumor is that Lily and James Potter are that they're dead. Dumbledore bowed his head. Professor McGonagall gasped. Lily and James? I can't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. Oh, Albus Dumbledore reached and patted her on the shoulder. I know, he said heavenly. Professor McGonagall's voice trembled as she went on. That's not all. They're saying they're trying to kill the Potter's son, Harry. But he couldn't. He couldn't kill that little boy. No one knows, but he couldn't. He couldn't kill that little boy. No one knows why or how, but they're saying that when he couldn't kill Harry Potter, Voldemort's power somehow broke, and that's why he's gone. Dumbledore nodded grumpily. It's true, flattered Professor McGonagall. After all he's done and all the people he's killed, and he couldn't kill a little boy. It's just outstanding of the things to stop. But how in the name did Harry survive? We can only guess, said Dumbledore. We may never know. Professor McGonagall pulled out a lace handkerchief. And dabbed her eyes beneath her spectacles. Dumbledore gave a great sniff and took a golden watch from her pocket and examined it. It was a very odd watch. It had 12 hands but no numbers. Instead, little planets were moving around the edge. It must have made sense to Dumbledore, though, but because he put it back on in his pocket and Hagrid's late. I suppose it was who told you I'd be here, by the way. Yes, said Professor McGonagall, and I don't suppose you were going to tell me why you're here, of all the places. I've come to bring Harry and to his aunt and uncle. They're the only family that's left. You don't mean, you can't mean the people who live here, cried Professor McGonagall, jumping to her feet and pointing at number 4. Dumbledore, you can't. I've been watching them all day. You couldn't find two people who were less like us. And they've got the son. I saw them kicking the mother all the way up the street, screaming for sweets. Harry Potter come and live here? It's the best place for him, said Dumbledore firmly. His aunt and uncle will be able to explain everything to him when he's older. I have written him a letter. A letter? Repeated Professor McGonagall faintly, sitting back down on the wall. Really? Really, Dumbledore? You think you can explain all this in a letter? These people would never understand him. He'd be famous, a legend. I wouldn't be surprised if he was known about the Harry Potter Day in the future. There would be books written about Harry Potter. Every child in the world would know his name. Exactly, said Dumbledore, looking very seriously over the top of the head. Famous because before he can walk and talk. Famous before something he won't even get to remember. Can't you see how much better off he'll be growing up away from all that until he's ready to take it. Professor McGonagall opened her mouth, changed her mind. Swallowed and then said, yes, you're right, of course, but how is a boy gonna get here, Dumbledore? She eyed his cloak. Suddenly, she thought he might be hiding Harry underneath it. Hagrid's bringing him. Do you think it's wise? I trust Hagrid with something as important as this. I would trust Hagrid with my life, said Dumbledore. I'm not trying to say his heart isn't in the right place, said Professor McGonagall gruffly, but he can pretend he's not careless. And he does trend to what was that? A low rumbling sound had broken in silence around them. It slowly, steadily grew louder as they looked up and down the street for some sign in the headlight. It swelled and roared as they both looked up at the sky. A huge motorcycle fell out of the air and landed in the road in front of them. If the motorcycle was huge, it would be nothing to the man sitting beside it. He was almost twice as tall as a normal man and at least 5 times wide. He looked simply too big to be allowed, and so wild. Long tangles of bushy black hair and a beard hid most of his face, and had hands the size of trash and can lids, and his feet in their leather boots were like a bathing baby dolphins in the vast muscular arms. He had been holding a bundle. Hagrid, said Dumbledore, sounding relieved. At last! Where did you get the motorcycle? Borrowed it, Professor Dumbledore, sir, said the giant, climbing carefully off the motorcycle. As he spoke, young Sirius Black lent it to me. I've got him, sir. No problems were there. No, sir. House was almost destroyed, but I got him out right before Muggles started swarming around. He fell asleep right before the Muggle. He fell asleep. We was flying over Bristol. Dumbledore and Professor McGonagall bent forward over the bundle of blankets. Inside was just a visible baby boy fast asleep. Under a tuft of jet black hair and over his forehead, they could see a curious-shaped cut like a lightning bolt. Is that where? Professor McGonagall said. Yes, whispered Professor McGonagall. Yes, said Dumbledore. He'll have that scar forever. Couldn't he do something about it, Dumbledore? Even if he could, I would. Scars can overcome handy. I have one on my left knee, and it's a perfect match of wonder underground. Well, give him here, Hagrid. We'll be getting this over with. Dumbledore took Harry in his arms and turned toward the Dudley's house. Could I say goodbye to him, sir? Asked Hagrid. He has been very scratchy whisker kids. Then suddenly Hagrid let out a howl like a wounded dog. Shh, hissed Miss Professor McGonagall. You'll wake up the Muggles. Sorry, sobbed Hagrid, talking in a large spotted handkerchief and burying his face in it. But I can't stand it. Lily and James are dead. and poor little Harry's off to live with muggles. Yes, it's very sad. But get the grip on yourself, Hagrid, or we'll be found. Professor McGall whispered, patting Hagrid gingerly on the arm as Dumbledore stepped in on a low garden gate wall and walked to the front door. He laid Harry gently on the doorstep, took a letter out of his cloak, tucked it inside Harry's blankets, and then came back the other two for a full minute. The three of them stood, looking in a little bundle. Hagrid's shoulders shook. Professor McGall blinked furiously, and the twinkling light that usually shone from Dumbledore's eyes seemed to have gone out. Well, said Dumbledore firmly, that's it. We have no business staying here. We might as well go and join the celebration. Yeah, said Hagrid in a muffled voice. It's best to get this bike away. G-night, Professor McGall. Professor Dumbledore, sir, wiping the streaming eyes on his jacket sleeve. Hagrid swung himself into the motorcycle and kicked the engine into life. With a roar, it rose into the air and off into the night. I shall see you soon, I expect, Professor McGall said. Dumbledore nodding to her. Professor McGall blew her nose in reply. Dumbledore turned and walked back down the street. On the corner, he could look out and spot a silver putter outer. He clicked it. That petite drive glow suddenly orange, and he could make out a tabby cat slinging around the corner of the other end of the street. He could just see the bundle of blankets on the step of number 4. Good luck, Harry, he murmured, and turned on his heel and swished his cloak. He was gone. A breeze ruffled from the knee edges of Petite Drive, where silent and tidy and inky sky, and very last place you would expect astonishing things to happen. Harry Potter rolled over inside his blankets without walking up. One small hand closed on the letter beside him, and he slept, not knowing he was special, not knowing he was famous, not knowing he was woken in a few hours' time by Miss Dursley screamed as she opened the front door and put out the milk bottle. More would she spend the next few weeks promoting the inch by her cousin Doodley. He couldn't know at this very moment. People meeting in all over the country were holding their glasses and saying in the hushed voice to Harry Potter, the boy who lived. I hope you liked that chapter. Remember, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. If you want to see part 3, remember part 3 to subscribe, turn on those notifications, and give this a huge big like. Bye!